Hey everybody, and welcome to Wizard and the Bruiser, starring your scariest snoozer, Holden McNeely.
And it's me, Bruiser?
I said I'm a snoozer this week.
I'm like the wizard. I can't do this week. I can't.
Jake, what happened to you? He came in. I'm actually happy he started talking because when he came in, he just was going, oh. Oh, and I was like, Jake, we have an episode to do. You got to say words.
I mean, is the shivering picking up on the mic? Because I'm vibrating with existential
It's
dread.
crazy because you're saying that, but you say you're shivering, but you're sweating. You're covered. You're just like a wet man.
It was supposed to be an easy episode. It was supposed to be just a fun little romp down nostalgia lane, beep beep in my fun bug, and it's the fucking 8-car pileup of bullshit this week. Jesus Christ in heaven, if you are real, which I'm doubting now, why would you curse us with this infernal topic?
You asked for it. I never wanted to do this. I can't tell you how hard it is. You know what? That's it. Let's just play the song. That's what they want to hear. Marcus, please, can you play them the song and make them happy? There it is. There you go, you fucks. There you go. High five the air, you piece of shit.
I have 4,000 Chrome tabs open, and none of them are getting me closer to the truth. Oh, God. Just the smiling face of Jason David Frank just looking at me with his fucking dumb tattoos. His Christian MMA tattoos. Man. Okay, so to tell the story of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers is a television show that happened on the Fox Kids programming block.
Hey, have you ever, fallen down a rabbit hole and broken your dick off because you plummeted for 50 stories down that rabbit hole?
Here's a good entry point. Let's talk about our own personal experience about the original sort of situation when Mighty Morphin Power Rangers first hit the streets. And by the streets, I mean our television screens. Now, me personally, I remember when it first came on. I'm going to go ahead and say, Jake, you might be in my camp, little bit old. It's literally right when I was like, I think I'm getting too old for this shit. Yep. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And I said it like that, and I don't even think I'd seen Lethal Weapon yet. You know what I'm saying? It was right before I was starting to watch R-rated movies. I'm probably a year or two away from Pulp Fiction. And I'm just kind of like, maybe I'm done. Maybe I should start sleeping in on Saturdays, And that's kind of what it was. And I saw Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I was like, what is this? What is this? This is nonsense. What is happening? There's these people in colors. It's never standing still. They're kids at high school, and then they get into these costumes, and now you're like, okay, so they're gonna fight and use special weapons. But no, there's gonna be robotic dinosaurs
and pig monsters vomiting giant amounts of food, and occasionally it'll be just a bad knockoff of Saved by the Bell. And then they'll cut to grainy footage of a Japanese TV show from the 80s where everyone talks funny, and the animatronic effects are bad, but just good enough to be fucked up looking. And they're all making bad puns, and the lip sync is off.
Everything's up. So I'm like, are these? No one looks like they're actually saying the words that I'm hearing. And it makes Jake, after doing the research on the way that this show came together and what this thing is, all right? I'm going to go ahead and say it makes a whole lot more sense now, the mishmash bullshit nonsense that I watched when I was a kid. Not yet a woman, but not quite a girl.
I found it visually captivating, and I loved, we'll get into all the reasons why it was immediately going to be a hit.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I remember this was the first thing I had to lie about watching.
Yeah, you were sneaking it?
I was sneaking because they aired it in the mornings.
Uh-huh.
You could, right before school, I could get my hit of, kung fu, sci-fi, goofy action, but I could not, for the life of me, be like, yo, did you see it when Goldar fucking burned the green candle and stole Tommy's powers?
See, for me, this was the first kid show where I was like, every episode is the same. It's just reskinned. Every single episode, the exact same sequence of events happens. Does no one else notice this? Has the whole world gone mad? I think that was like the defining moment for me. Now, I will say this. I do appreciate this show a lot more after having done the research that I've done. Mm-hmm. Do I understand this show? No. Okay. Do I like the show? Probably not. But do I have respect for this damn witch's brew of a kids' TV show? Kind of.
Am I going to share that story about the one time I was doing an anime convention in Rochester, New York, and I might have smack-talked Johnny Youngbosch behind his back, and he was right there behind me, and it looked like he was going to punch my lights out? Maybe.
Please don't share that story, Jake.
I remember for me, Power Rangers, me and my friends, like, we all knew we were too old to watch Power Rangers. We all knew it, but we were also just in the throes of puberty, so we were always like, yeah, dude, fucking Pink Ranger's so fucking hot. But that monster is pretty cool too, though, right? Yeah, dude, dude, she's so fucking hot. But yeah, that monster was pretty awesome.
He was like a shrimp knight.
So to perfectly date us, I will now say that Power Rangers, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, we should make that. We should define the title there because there are a lot of different TV series that happen. This is the first one. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers first debuted on August 28th, 1993 on the Fox Kids programming block. If you don't know, by the way, just to give us all a little nostalgia yummies, I wrote down some of my most memorable TV shows from the Fox Kids block. You guys ready for this? Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. Bobby's World.
Ooh.
Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
A lot of licensed stuff. Beetlejuice, the cartoon show? You don't remember Beetlejuice?
Beetlejuice?
Beetlejuice. He's already here. He's already killing us. Yeah, dude. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures. Batman the Animated Series. Eek the Cat.
Great.
X-Men, which will come up later in this show. Tiny Toon Adventures. Animaniacs. Life with Louie. The Magic School Bus. And The Tick.
That's a solid fucking lineup.
That's a lot. I handpicked the best ones. I didn't write down like Murgy and the Burgy Fergies.
Shot
Like,
Squad.
Cast. Oh, here's the thing, though. It's like, in a way, Power Rangers is what kind of killed all those amazing animated series because it proved you can just, like, shit out anything and kids will watch it and buy toys of it.
Absolutely. I mean, the Bandai toys alone have generated over $5 billion worldwide. Incredible crossovers. Bandai, you might remember from the Gundam episode and any other episode that has sellable action figures.
This is
make
what fucked me up.
billions of dollars.
Is to tell the story of Power Rangers, you basically just have to re-listen to every episode of this podcast because it's the history of comic books, the history of anime, the history of movies, the history of Israel, the history of everything is tied into fucking Power Rangers. Like, Trump might have won because of Power Rangers. I'm fucking serious. Like, the fucking rabbit hole never ends with this show.
Saban Entertainment was a American
Chaim Saban.
Not Saban?
No.
Chaim Saban?
Chaim Saban.
Saban. I thought it sounds like, Sagat or something.
No. Chaim Saban and Shuki Levy.
Who's Shuki Levy?
He's his business partner.
Oh, that's the guy's name. Oh, I did my research. It's an American-Israeli television production company that formed in 1983, and they're known basically to import and dub and adapt several Japanese series. Now, let's go ahead and get this straight right now. We're going to get into the details of it, but what they did was they took a Japanese TV show, and they just put American actors in it.
Saban, okay, so Saban goes into a whole fucking can of worms where he was born in Egypt, moved to Israel, served in the army, and in the army, he formed a band. And that band got a little bit of headway in Europe. They called themselves the Lions of Judah, and he started his own music. Yeah, fucking
I'm so glad you're
Zionist
here.
music was this weird. Chaim Saban is a ruthless businessman who is kind of, shall we say, stingy. He is a greedy Israeli man, and that has nothing to do with anything. But as we describe him as both Israeli and greedy, you dare not make a connection. You fucking assholes.
I'm just upset I'm laughing right now. What was his band like?
It was just a lot of Israeli music, especially from the 70s and 80s. It's like it's kind of funky, disco-y, like, it doesn't matter. The point is that after the band broke up, he moved to Paris with a few other people, Israeli music producers like Shuki Levy, and their big break, the way they found their niche was doing children's theme songs, and their specific deal was they would go up to television producers and say, we'll write the theme song for free, but we get the publishing rights of the song if the show's a hit. And so that's like a huge cut in the, that's a huge savings for the budget. Not every show is going to be a hit. And they took it. And success in French adaptations of anime and children's show led to success that then made them move to LA, which Saban's team ended up writing the theme songs for He-Man and She-Ra and fucking Dino Saucers, which, if you know me personally, you know that is my favorite children's theme song of all time.
Go, go, Dino Saucers! Those mighty Morphin Dino Saucers!
You're like, not that off. But it became this like kind of steamroll thing where they were working with Deke, if you remember from the Super Mario Brothers Super Show, Do It Cheap, non-union kids show company.
Also did Dino Saucers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And so on a business trip to Japan, that's when Saban saw the first Sentai show that he was exposed to, and kind of like Frank Miller getting manga before it was published in America, he saw, he knew about the American toy cartoon TV juggernaut money-making machine, and here he saw these shows with fucking robots and fucking ninjas and fucking martial arts and fucking swinging teenagers, and he was like, oh, they just made what we've been like taking years to develop. They just have this. It's just lying around. And so he would produce pilots. He would continually try and sell an American adaptation, either overdub or Bioman was like a fake pilot that he made.
And what's awesome is they're all wearing masks, and they're all big puppets, so you don't even have to worry about like who's saying what and when they're saying it and how they're saying it, because they're all just wibbling, wobbling around in their goofy puppet clothes.
And it was only Fox Kids that finally took the bait. They were the first ones that actually said, okay, Saban, you wily Israeli man, we'll run your dirt cheap, dubbed over Sweet Valley High bullshit ninja show. Sentai in Japan is a whole nother fucking thing with its own separate history.
Yes. Sentai stands for Task Force or Fighting Squadron. It is of the tokusatsu genre, which you might know as a live-action show using special effects. Godzilla fits into this genre. It ranges from sci-fi to fantasy to horror. It's one of the most popular forms of Japanese entertainment. And I think the most interesting thing for me, I think we are all kind of familiar with it. It has a very distinct look, and obviously the Power Rangers is it. Just these kind of crazy, ridiculous costumes.
Whether it's a kaiju movie or Kamen Rider or, it
always features something wildly waving its arms about, like it doesn't know what to do with its arms.
As long as there's a sweating man dying in a very bulky costume, that's tokusatsu. And that was created by... it started from the Japanese manga industry, and one of the biggest advancements of the genre was as a result of fucking Swingin' Stan Lee, who had an agreement with Toei. He was, this was Stan Lee's like kind of wilderness years in LA trying to make Marvel productions happen, and they made a deal with Toei, which was the #1 television tokusatsu company, and they kind of admired each other's respective way to get money out of 12-year-olds. And so they agreed that for 3 years, each company could just kind of do whatever with the other's IPs. And so, like, Marvel was like, oh, we'll make a cool Japanese show with, like, monsters in it, and we'll make money. Toei ended up making Supaido-Man. Actually, Marcus, can you bring up the Supaido-Man theme song?
Supaido-Man.
Spider-Man.
Well, yes, of course. But, I mean, it's S-U-P... Supaida?
Supaida-Man.
Supaida-Man.
Yeah. This is the fucking swingy, like this is, play this song as you pull the life support from my body. This is the kind of music that Lion of Judah played, by the way.
This is fucking sick.
He's in the jungle, right?
No, he's in Tokyo.
Between the dark valleys of buildings.
Spider-Man. So Spider-Man was a tokusatsu show that did something incredibly brilliant, where instead of a instead of a super team or a squadron, it was just a lone hero with a dark past. But the fights every week, instead of fighting the monster and just defeating him with a special move, he would bring in a giant mecha, the Leopardon, which was the spaceship that would fly down from space and then change into a leopard ninja robot. And that's when the show would end with a giant robot fight after a kung fu fight, which is a delineation between what was Sentai and Super Sentai. And the Spider-Man show kind of cemented the pattern of, like, you know, civilian, change into the superhero costume, fight, and then call in the robot to finish the job.
And did you mention it was created by Shotaro Ishinomori?
The Sentai...
Super Sentai.
Yeah, the whole... Ishinomori, oh God, this is the fucking Power Rangers conundrum. Is we're going into the history of Japanese television.
I want to take it deeper than that, because the real hole I got into was, I think if you want to know where all this stuff originates,
if you want to know the history of Japanese television,
let's go all the way back to 1603 when Kabuki Theater hit its golden age. Super Sentai, a lot of what defines it is a color-coded costume, signature weapons, and then, of course, the addition with the giant robot puppets, right? And monsters and stuff. So I sort of started digging around a little bit and found, you know, and I already knew about Kabuki Theater, but I thought it just all clicked in my head. Kabuki Theater, it incorporates, it's like, instead of like traditional acting the way that we understand it, it's very movement based. It's very specific to movement, to song. It's very fluid motion. There's a lot of like choreographed fight scenes and things like that. They used a lot of tricks in the theater, trap doors, and different ways to have characters appearing and disappearing, and ways to surprise the audience. It was all about special effects. It was all about doing spectacle on stage. You had actors were kind of, they were all sort of known by their respective, the colors of their respective costumes and the colors of their makeup. If they were if they had red stripes on their face, that stood for passion, heroism, you know, like a certain Power Ranger that we know about. And then you've got the green equals supernatural. And there's just different things that their costumes, the colors specifically in their costumes and their makeup expressed. And then there was also, at the same time, Bunraku Theater, which is the puppetry theater that was going on. Very much at the same time, to the point where kind of like how you have in, like, I mean, I guess you could say in manga and anime, but there's a constant adaptation of Kabuki to Bunraku and back and forth, and Kabuki plays being adapted from puppet theater pieces. So there's already like a relationship between the two. And then, so this is back in the turn of the 18th century. Bunraku was the name of a particular theater in Osaka established in 1805. And the puppets in the Awaji tradition are quite large, as productions of that region were generally held outdoors. They had 3 puppeteers manning them, with someone off on the side like "Aye-ay-oh-wah," just like singing the words.
Now I hope all you assholes are taking notes, because we're gonna need all this when we get to Bulk and Skull, the Goofy Bullies.
The Goofy Bullies are completely derivative from these two ancient forms of Japanese theater. And it all just...
Bulk wore a leather bandana, which looked very uncomfortable, and it's a garment I've never seen anyone else wear.
It is a sign of subservience in otaku culture. So then it all just clicked in my head. It was like puppets, the giant monsters, in color-coded costumes and very animated, fluid movements, over-the-top movements. Oh my God, it's Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and manga and everything that I've come to understand as this thing that seemed to come out of nowhere. And I'm like, it's all straight from these ancient theater techniques that were going on in you know, the 1600s, Jake.
Culture. Who knew?
I literally thought it came from nowhere.
Yeah.
I just thought some crazy Japanese person woke up one day and was like, A, can't believe you bombed my whole country. B, here's this crazy, here's JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Yeah.
You know?
So with all that, So I guess it's important that there was this untapped well of culture and history and entertainment that just was not conceived of in the West.
Not
and
at all.
Saban finally managed to package it in a way that convinced executives to put in front of American children's eyes.
This is like before even Dragon Ball made its way over, right?
Yes. Also, Saban and Shuki Levy worked on the original Dragon Ball, like Rock the Dragon, Dragon Ball. They worked on that theme song. Their tentacles are everywhere.
I know.
They're Israeli. They have tentacles, not related.
He liked the show.
Yes. So it airs. It airs, and this weird, cheap, malformed thing that does not resemble anything else on television.
That I saw and straight up was like, this looks like complete and utter hot garbage.
One of the biggest television shows
So
of all time.
huge, so giant. You
Bigger
know?
than Ninja Turtles.
Bigger than Ninja Turtles. And I was a Ninja Turtles kid, and I think that also swayed my opinions. I was like, I think it's that moment where I was like, what are the kids listening to? You know,
Yeah.
and I'm like, they're listening to Go Go Power Rangers. And it was a giant hit. If you don't know, Zordon recruits teenagers with attitude to fight and pilot Zords, which are giant dinosaur mechs, in order to go up against Rita Repulsa. Now, originally Zordon and Rita clashed. He got sealed in a time warp, and she got put in a dumpster on the moon.
Yeah.
I forgot about the moon dumpster.
It was more of a cylinder, more of a trash can than a traditional dumpster. But in the show, they referred to it as Day of the Dumpster was the pilot or the first episode.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's called Day of the Dumpster, which ironic now that I'm saying it out loud.
And it features the 5 different Power Rangers. We've got.
Let's go down the line. Let's talk about the merits of each of these unique and wonderful teenagers.
Let's give these fuckers what they want and discuss. Jason Lee Scott,
the Red Ranger,
he's
by
the leader. Heroism.
Austin St.
In
John.
kabuki culture back in the 1600s. During
You ever
its
have
golden age.
you ever have an American cheese sandwich on white bread? That's Jason.
Oh shit! He had the Tyrannosaurus Dinozord coin, which allowed him to control
the power coins.
Tyrannosaurus Dinozord.
The power coins that was put in the morph buckle that allowed them to transform into power.
Literally, just like you can also maybe buy this thing, and then and then there's a buckle, so you can buy the buckle.
The word that people use in the biz is toyetic, and Power Rangers was so toyetic that there wasn't a single aspect of the show that couldn't be converted into a piece of plastic.
Now you've got Trini Kwan. She is the Asian Power Ranger. She is yellow. She is the yellow Power Ranger. She controls the saber-toothed tiger Dinozord. You've got Zach Taylor, who is the black Power Ranger.
What color was he?
He's a black. He's a black man, and he's the black power. Now, I think the most interesting thing in my research was nowhere did anyone mention like, "Hey, that was fucked up."
No one ever mentions that it's kind of fucked up that the black Power Ranger was black and the Asian Power Ranger was yellow, and the white girl was pink.
Also, they claim later in the series they kind of inferred that Jason had some Native American heritage, so the Native American was the Red Ranger.
And of course, Zach Taylor, the Black Ranger, is the Mastodon Dinozord.
I didn't know that mastodons were a thing before this show.
I love the. Oh, really?
I mean, not this episode. I mean, when watching Power Rangers, I was
before
like,
the TV show.
They said mammoth weird.
I love the way the Mastodon comes in, by the way. If you watch all of them entering. By the way, I think one thing that always made me mad, you never really see them fight individually.
Correct.
That really always made me very angry.
There were
like,
lots
as a
of
kid.
situations where the fact that every single character could individually summon a giant robot dinosaur and yet wouldn't do it.
And then all these giant, awesome-looking dino robots, massive dinosaur robots, walk in and immediately turn into something else.
Sometimes they would have the pterodactyl thing like fly by the monster and like do like pip pip and they'd be like, it's no use, we better go. But like there'd be times where they're like, oh no, putties. Putties were the weird gray gross monsters.
Putty Patrol. Who can forget them?
But they'd be like, "Oh, I'm outnumbered," and be like, "If only I could summon a giant robot woolly mammoth." But I can't do that.
You've got Kimberly Hart was the Valley girl with a heart of gold.
Also, several teenage boys' first crush.
Yes, and she was
very lithe. There'd be like a lot of scenes of her doing gymnastics in a belly shirt.
Yes, and she was the pterodactyl dinosaur. And then Billy Cranston, named after Bryan Cranston, because he did some voices on the show. Yes, the character Billy Cranston.
It's not direct.
It said it on multiple sites online. All those dumb, like, what did things to know about the Power Rangers? Click here. Give me ad revenue. Click here. Give me ad revenue.
Billy was the nerd of the group. He would like create cool inventions and like figure out ways to defeat the villains by staring at a fake computer and talking about bullshit.
Had a Triceratops dinosaur, in case you needed to be reminded.
Also,
what dinosaur he had.
I don't know if you know this fun fact about David Yost, the actor that played Billy the Blue Ranger.
He was gay
and mercilessly bullied.
Yeah,
just like not in a fun way. Just
I don't
like
mean to laugh about him being bullied.
Tortured.
By the way, I'm laughing about me screaming he was gay, as if that was a fun fact. I'm not laughing at being bullied. Come at me, come at me, internet, please. I beckon you.
Did he go through some like horrific like gay therapy shock treatment stuff?
He did not have a fun life, which is weird because he stayed on the show very long, a lot longer than a lot.
There
of
are other
members.
Reports that say that it was actually more of a pay dispute. I mean, the pay was trash. Not to diminish what he said, but I'm just saying there are other people who are saying no, it was based on pay, not on this. But the pay was garbage, a garbage nightmare for all of these actors because this was an incredibly cheap project. It was non-union. They were paid $600 a week at most. And
for intensely they're doing intensely physical work on that show.
They're choreographing their own fight scenes. 6:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. 16 weeks each season. They were called in the day of the earthquake in California to do work. The earthquake happened, and they were like, "Yeah, you got to come in today." And they came in.
The crazy thing was the Power Rangers movies that Power Rangers Turbo and all that. They were brought in to sign contracts to do 3 major motion pictures, knowing how big of success the show was and how much merchandise they were selling for like pretty much the same rate as the TV show.
My God, those poor kids! They were kids.
I mean, they were a weird mix of like kids to 30-year-old men.
True.
But
yeah, Jason Lee Scott, the Red Ranger, the Yellow Ranger, and the Black Ranger were all martial artists. And they were literally like brought in to, and that's Austin St. John is the red, Walter Jones is the black, and Thoy Trang is Trini, the Yellow Ranger, and Zach Taylor. Walter Jones, a.k.a. the actor, he was quoted as saying, it was like, okay, so in the script today, you're going to be fighting in the park. Hey, how about you fight on this park bench? Can you come up with something? And so I got 15 minutes, 20 minutes, a half hour to figure out what I wanted to do. They give me a couple putties. It was all really improvised and choreographed spontaneously. I had no idea. And who can forget the memorable characters Squat and Babu?
The thinking man's gold.
So I wanted to go back, though, to this Blue Ranger really fast because he was Billy Cranston, named after Bryan Cranston. Now, Bryan Cranston, the reason why that happened was Bryan Cranston voiced some of the monsters, and we do have the clip queued up of some of Bryan Cranston's amazing voice work. Now, he will be the screaming monster in this clip.
Your weapons are no match for me. Now you shall taste my firepower.
You could play any clip from Power Rangers and say it was Bryan Cranston, and I wouldn't fight you on it.
Oh no, Snake! Overstraining your energy, foolish Power Rangers.
He's right. I'm getting weaker.
I hate it when a snake drains my energy.
This goes on for 2.5 minutes.
It's very long. And it's literally him just going, yeah! Hey!
Wow.
You know what? You gotta earn the money whatever way you can earn the money.
But There's also Bulk and Skull, the bullies.
Yeah, let's return to them. They were fun bullies. They were going to get their own spin-off movie, apparently, but that didn't happen.
This is the weirdest thing following. The American Power Rangers fandom is very intense and very devoted, and I don't want to, like, diminish them at all for following this intensely convoluted lore and canon that is, just a hodgepodge of 18 different TV shows just crammed into a single narrative. But Bulk and Skull kind of stayed on the longest. They were kind of the through line from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers all the way to, like, there's, like, I don't know, Power Rangers Bone Squad, Power Rangers Ninja Fucks.
All right, let's do it.
Now they went from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers to Power Rangers in space.
Yep, we got Mighty Morphin Alien Rangers, Power Rangers Zeo, Power Rangers Turbo, Power Rangers Lost Galaxy, Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue, Power Rangers Time Force, Power Rangers Wild Force, Power Rangers Ninja Storm, Power Rangers Dino Thunder, Power Rangers SPD, Power Rangers Mystic Force, Power Rangers Operation Overdrive, Power Rangers Jungle Fury, which of course they had to edit out the sex scenes for America, Power Rangers RPM, Power Rangers Samurai and Super Samurai, Power Rangers Megaforce and Super Megaforce, Power Rangers Dino Charge and Dino Supercharge, and of course 2017's own Power Rangers Ninja Steel. Still making them.
Still making them.
Making them.
The original Sentai shows have not gone off the air. There's like, if you watch a modern tokusatsu show, like, it's trippy as fuck, actually.
Yeah.
Because it's like a very self-aware genre. Anyway, Bulk and Skull had the most screen time, the most character development. So, like, because there's really nothing else to latch onto this weird toy commercial franchise, hearing Power Rangers fans talk about, like, the saga of Bulk and Skull is fucking hilarious. Again, I mean, no insult to your passions.
I love you people for what you love.
But Bulk and Skull are these, like, antagonistic bullies, like, what are you goody two-shoes up to? Hey, we're bullies, I hate the environment. Oh no, it's an octopus monster. Piddle.
Yeah, I mean, they were really just there to like fill in that little bit of plot before the monster action happened, right? I mean, just to have a little bit of some adversarials before we get to the big, fun, gross screen, mean monsters.
And I feel like the most vital Ranger in the cast is probably my main man, Tommy.
Fuck yeah, dude. Tommy rocking the clock these days. Tommy, the Green Ranger, Mr. Oliver, if you're nasty. He had the Dragon Zord.
Oh.
Go, Green Ranger, go!
Wait, there's like a weird bridge, and I'm sorry. By the way, this music is all by a guy named Ron Wasserman.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Like a power metal god. Like, this fucking rockin'. Wait, here it goes.
Golda's gonna get you tonight. Go down.
Yeah, a power metal song is not complete until some guy goes,
Tonight!
That'd be great if one time it was next week. Tuesday, maybe.
Now, this same trick is what worked in the original Sentai series that Power Rangers was, loaned from. And it was, it was always like 5 people on a team. And then, what's this? It's a 6th one.
What?
Introduced like later. And turns out he's fucking cooler than all the other ones.
He's got a gold plate on his chest.
He's like special. He has his own Dragon Zord that can just like take out shit on his own. It was like a big deal that Tommy could fight putties without turning into a ranger first. Like, that was like a big power move.
Oh, shit.
Our mutual friend, Mike Lawrence, will often talk about how wrestlers need to, like, put on a big show to get put over for fans. And Tommy was fucking it.
Huge.
He was such a big deal because he was everything you loved about Power Rangers, but, like, pushed to the ultimate degree. And so kids were obsessed with him. They were their favorite, he was the center of attention.
He was only supposed to be on for a few episodes. It's like a small subplot. And he was so beloved by the children of America that they all went on a 8-week hunger strike until he was brought back. 4,700 children died.
Well, it was kind of difficult because in the original Japanese show, it was like this story arc where, this evil ranger was introduced and then like brought to the side of good only to die tragically. So they ran out of footage of the Green Ranger real quick.
Yeah, so what did they even... That was my question when I learned that fact. The fuck did they do?
So the Power Rangers production is this, like, it was very cheaply done. And it was all like spitballs and duct tape, where they would reuse shots. They would use footage of just a guy in a domestically made Green Ranger suit. You can tell which Green Ranger suit is like hacked together for America, because the shield is like made of this cheap cloth, shiny padding, whereas in the Japanese thing, it's like it's a solid plastic shield.
Of course.
Eventually, the show was so profitable that like Saban actually low key paid Toei to make more footage from the original like it was so cheap. Like, the original Sentai show was so cheap that it was cheaper for Saban to just like be like, hey, go out into the desert and light some fireworks and kill some monsters. And obviously what they ended up doing was through all these they limited Tommy's powers. That was like a big deal, is that you didn't know each day whether or not Tommy would be in the episode as the Green Ranger. Because they would like, oh, he lost his powers, no more Green Ranger. Oh, he got his powers a little bit. Oh, they're gone again. Ooh, like there was this push and
that
pull.
just made the kids even hungrier for it.
Absolutely.
It was like a seductive mistress.
Yeah. Or I also found another thing about that is that they would always hand wave him off as quote, doing karate.
Yes. he was good at it, though. He was good at it.
Eventually, they made him the White Ranger, which used new footage from another Sentai series, which ironically was from a completely different season of Super Sentai than the rest of the Power Rangers.
And it's great if you do go look up like the Wikipedia on all these different shows. It'll tell you which Sentai season name that they took all of the footage from for each individual series, so you get a decent idea of kind of like what was going on over in Japan. They were just like, give it over. Bring it over here. Shovel it into these kids' faces.
It's very interesting to see all the thematic and narrative, let's call them fuck-arounds of the American show, is a direct result of them just trying to stretch out and preserve the Power Rangers designs that were at the front of this toy empire. Because while Japanese audiences were familiar with the fact that, like, yeah, like there's a new Sentai series every year or two, and then you get new toys, the idea of just like completely changing everything about a hit show at the height of its power was just so alien and bonkers for an American company to do that they had to go into all these twists to keep that gravy train running.
One thing that I just wanted to jump back for a second, because I think my favorite thing I learned about kabuki theater is that one of the main things that the actors would do was called it was MIE. I don't know if that's mie or mie. But it's when an actor holds a picturesque pose to establish his character, and then his house name or yago can be heard in a loud shout called a kakigoi from an expert audience member. Which is like fucking straight up what this shit is. Where it's literally somebody does they stick their pose,
The henshin pose.
yeah, they stick their pose, and then the audience is like, Red Ranger, you know, and that's like it's crazy that it really is just like the same shit today. That's just people just want an identifiable thing that they can yell at once a day or 100 times a day, depending on where you are on the spectrum. And
The spectrum of what, Holden?
spectrum of being a loving boy, a happy boy.
Very good.
Very good.
Shout out to all the happy boys listening to
Shout
us
out to all the
today.
happy boys listening to this. I remember too the Green Ranger. Well, the Green Ranger. I remember the Green Ranger becomes the White Ranger. Now I remember a Christmas season when it was impossible to get a White Ranger. Is that not correct?
Yeah, I mean, the toys were constantly in demand, constantly sold out. Tickle Me Elmo times a million.
93
That's how you make $5 billion off this shit.
93, 94 Christmas seasons, I remember it was like a nightmare madhouse trying to get a Power Ranger toy for your screaming, horrible child, yelling at you, telling you, be like, I'm leaving it! I'm leaving this house! You're like, give me the green one!
We got a Billy. We got a Blue Ranger Billy.
I hate Billy. He's probably a closeted gay! He's closeted!
What about we got the new Black Ranger, Adam Park.
It's racist! racist. It's like, well, he understands some cultural values.
Who wants a talking Alpha 5? Ay, 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 ay. What a fun toy.
So, yeah, that guy, by the way, was stuck it out till the end. He was in like all 150-something episodes of the original show, which did run for 3 seasons. I guess we should circle back around to that. But, yeah, that wacky, dumb robot, that guy, why? What?
Because Zordon didn't have a body.
Zordon was apparently only filmed once. They only needed to film him once.
Oh, yeah.
Because he doesn't really
his lips never match what he says.
Yep.
He's just kind of warbling.
Yep, exactly.
Also, the idea that there was an actor, it just feels like they just grabbed some guy. It is not a powerful-looking head.
No. It all looked so stitched together, so loosely. I just didn't even understand how people saw it as like a TV show. It was just a fucking mishmash, like we've said. But it was just so. I don't. It makes so much sense now that they stitched together a Japanese show with the robots and stuff with like sort of modern day kids. That there was no budget. That the actors got paid nothing. They should sue the pants off of these people for what they went through, and yet they're all just kind of like, we're just a bunch of crazy kids working, 16 days.
They're making that con money.
They do make that. Although, there's kind of a split between like the malcontents and the team players on the Power Rangers con circuit. Like fucking Tommy, Jason. Wait, hold on. I'm getting so many names confused.
They're all like generic 90s after school special names. Like the actors and the character names. Like it's just impossible.
Jason David Frank is a team player, loves the show. He stayed on for a very long time. He was very popular. Runs his own MMA empire about Christian MMA.
He's the Red Ranger?
No, he was the Green Ranger / White Ranger.
Who knows?
His catchphrase tattooed on his arm. I fucking love it. Jesus didn't tap. Jesus didn't tap. He speaks very highly of the show, loves the fans, has that kind of like intense, successful person energy that like I find terrifying.
Yeah.
Like a little bit of sociopathy, but like, fuck it, I guess he's doing all right.
The Red Rangers are incredibly private after he literally had his own shirt ripped off of his body by fans at a public. It was like at a mall or something.
Oh.
It freaked him out. So he doesn't like to go out at all.
Oh, Austin St. John, the Red Ranger, never appeared in a porn. That's an urban legend.
Gotcha.
He just has what a lot of people like to call male porn star face.
And male porn star name, Austin St. John.
Yeah, Austin St. John is definitely a porn star name.
Also, Walter Jones, the Black Ranger, has 4 fingers on one hand.
Yeah, he's missing a finger on one of his
entire
hands.
time.
The entire time? This whole time.
It's like really weird to just see all the pictures now, and you're just like, son of a bitch, ain't got no finger right there.
When he was 9 years old, he turned to his mom. He said, "Hey, look what I can do." And he just bit his own finger off his hand. And she said, "I'll never forget the fortitude of my boy," And then she shipped him off to Hollywood. And yes, so as mentioned before, and let's cue that theme song up again because they want to hear it, and we got to play it for them as we talk about Ron Wasserman, aka Aaron Waters, aka the Mighty Raw.
Just driving guitars, fucking hooks. He knew what he was doing.
Oh, it's been in my head for the past couple days.
I mean, that's the thing is, Saban made theme songs before they made television shows.
Yeah.
They knew what got people hooked.
Say the name of the show over and over and over again.
And while this song is playing, all the very photogenic, underpaid actors are like turning and smiling at the camera with their names.
No, and it's perfect stuff. This song is exactly 1 minute long.
Yeah.
1 minute. Like, it is exactly 1 minute long. That is the songwriting brilliance.
And it was written in 2 hours.
I believe it.
All they said to him is, "Yeah, fuck it, let's do it."
This is the 4-minute version.
Yeah.
Which I would imagine has a much larger build-up.
You better be on a treadmill right now.
Just imagine fucking Ron Wasserman at a metal like conference or a metal like festival being like, "Oh man, I'm from fucking Typhoid, And this is my buddy. He's the lead singer of Crotch Rot. What did you? What's
Like if he was singing about wizards, it's the exact same shit as any other power metal tune.
Actually, I hate to throw this on you while we're recording, but if you could do the X-Men theme song, he also wrote the X-Men animated show theme song, probably my favorite theme song of Saturday morning cartoons ever, forever. It's so good. Yes, yes.
we're all in our 30s.
I was so pumped when this song would come
Hey,
on.
Marcus, did you file your taxes yet?
I talked to my accountant for about 30 minutes today about, which 1099s I got to get in.
I just got the healthcare forms for my work, and it's like, do I deduct that? Like, where do I don't even know where to put that in.
I got somebody you can call.
Okay.
Yeah.
I talked to my guy about starting an LLC. By the way,
I mean, it's really wise. It really simplifies
the forms.
the forms. Once it's a pain in the ass now, but it's really worth it
Later.
when it comes back around to tax time next year. I'm really happy with my decision to open one up.
Wasserman about the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers theme song said, they said if you can use the word go, and the reason for that being, that's all they said. Go in the room, and all we need is the word go to be in the song. And apparently it was because of the Inspector Gadget song, Go Gadget Go.
Also
They
a
heard
Saban
that.
thing.
Yeah,
Also a Saban.
They liked that. They felt like that was good enough and popular enough. And of course,
It might have been Shooky, not Chaim, but whatever. Yeah.
and of course, Inspector Gadget originated from the Russian theater Konkronkin back in the early 17th century.
No, you made that up.
It was a
You entered a
gadget.
fugue state, and you're just lying to feel
Kronkin
alive.
was a gadget-based theater troupe, and they would create tiny little gadgets for the. All right, and Wasserman's first band was Betty Boop and the Beat. He would later go and form a band with his girlfriend at the time, and later would marry her. Don't know if they lasted. Well, who knows? We couldn't find that information. But the band Fisher, they had a hit song. I didn't write it down. I listened to it for a little bit. And also, he took part in that Dragon Ball Z for Funimation music originally when it was localized over here. So Wasserman dipped his paws in quite a few childhood tunes that you may remember if you are now sort of dealing with harsh realities as an adult.
I think one of the things that we should just reflect on is the toy empire, because everything about the show changed and snapped and fit together. Like each Power Ranger had a unique weapon. I liked the Blue Ranger because he had kind of a tri-lance bow staff thing, and you could break it apart so he could hold it as two separate pointy things. I thought that was a neat feature. All the weapons fit together into a super crossbow laser cannon. Each Power Ranger had a unique costume with a unique helmet. Each Power Ranger had their own dinosaur. Each dinosaur had an alternate form. They would introduce the Dragon Sword.
I love it, but that was what we were just complaining about was that how the dinosaurs don't even fight before they're turning into a giant robot. It's they're just buy this, and then if you buy this, it'll turn into this. Before you even see having fun with the dinosaurs, what that would be. We've already shown you a new toy, so you don't even you could skip the part where you're playing with the dinosaur.
My favorite thing in the world was Titanus. Do you remember Titanus?
No.
So you got all the Zords, you made the Megazord, you bought the Dragon Zord, which could then ka-chunk into a special suit on top of the Megazord, and still you're what more can you buy? You've spent so much of your parents' money, and that's when they introduced Titanus, which was this big white Brachiosaurus that the Megazord just kind of sat on.
Well, he was a carrier Zord for the Dinozords, the Ninja Zords, and the Shogun Zords.
Fun fact.
Which is 3 more subsets of toys that you can
That
buy.
you can also purchase for a very good price at Toys R Us.
There's a few key shots of Titanus carrying other Zords around, and because of the way that they mixed and matched all these different show footages, the way they got those shots was the production staff in America actually just bought the toys and shot the toys. And that's how you got like these Zords to... actually, a lot of the production staff will talk about how so much of the props in the show were just hastily bought toys because they couldn't get a hold of the originals from Japan.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy. What was the name of the all right, so you got Rita Repulsa.
Mm-hmm. We didn't talk about Lord Zed.
Yeah, I was about to talk about Lord Zed.
Oh, my
He comes
God.
in next. So they had like when they get married in the show, they have like a Jewish wedding.
Well,
Which I think is kind of funny.
so
It's
they
like
were running-
insinuating that the main bad guy.
So they
is
were running out of footage of Rita Repulsa. There was just only so many times she could make my monster grow. That was a terrible impression. Please
I
don't.
thought it was great.
Please don't
Can
threaten
you do
my
it
family.
again? Can you please do it again?
Make my monster grow.
I think shriller and more Japanese.
Yeah.
I don't think I have it in me.
Make my monster grow! Make my monster grow!
Yeah, you got. It's like the Wicked Witch of the West and a geisha. So they introduced a new character, and this was actually very smart. They kind of understood that, to raise the stakes and to fit with a growing, aging audience, they introduced an original character called Lord Zed that was a fucking nightmare creature.
Yeah, he was skinless and had like weird
Exposed brain.
exoskeleton. Yeah.
Pumping fluid through his clear tubing veins, an exposed brain.
Yeah.
And
Fun.
out of my way, Rita.
They had fun with their monsters. I'll give them
So
that.
they got married because the parents were terrified that the Power Rangers were fighting an all-powerful meat demon. And that was meant to soften Zed's character a little bit. But for a while, they did a very good thing where Zed was like a very credible threat, and very early in his run, he shook up the status quo, and like that was when Tommy had to stop being the Green Ranger, and he had it was good children's storytelling to kind of up the stakes with this dark, terrifying, bloody nightmare creature that came out of H.R. Giger's scrapbook.
The show was actually banned in New Zealand for being too violent and had a lot of they were really worried. It was one of those schoolyard scares. Like everybody loves this show now, so all they want to do is fake fight each other and they're getting hurt. And in Malaysia, they censored the name of the show because they felt that Morphin was too similar to the word morphine. They thought it was like a drug thing.
So weird.
So weird.
I mean,
so weird.
Morphing is actually, it's just, side note, morphing is a very clever translation of the Japanese term henshin, which is kind of this all-encompassing idea of transforming or changing your body, which is, all the heroes from the Japanese shows would strike a pose and do a henshin and change into the super version of themselves.
Kabuki!
So morphing is transformation, changing.
There you go. And we're all on our own little journey, and we're all having our own little morph. Right, Jake?
I mean, yeah. I guess if we're going to end the podcast on a real-ass note, I guess so.
I think that if everybody looks inside themselves, they'll find their own. What's the name of the dumb monster? Zords? They'll find their own fucking Zord.
Zord, yeah.
And if it's a pterodactyl or a goddamn chimpanzee, you'll embrace your own inner Zord and form a giant robot man with 4 other people's Zords. I don't know what I'm saying here. I don't know where I'm going to.
It turns out I feel like this week we bit off a lot more than we could chew.
Yeah, it was a bit of a Charleston Chew, this whole Mighty Morphin Power Rangers
Because
situation.
to tell the story of Power Rangers, you literally have to tell the history of the world itself.
So thank you so much for joining us for this wonderful discussion, and thank you for listening to the show in general. It's been so much fun on the Facebook group, just out there in the wild, people talking, having some really fun conversations and shit. It's been great. Please rate and review us on iTunes. My name's Holden McNeely. You can call me HMCN Doggers, which is my new experimental hip hop handle. I rap everything backwards. It's a whole thing. Follow me on Twitch, Holdnator's Ho. And I'll see you in the dojo. Jake, save me from this.
Gotta definitely copy that on the leaving an iTunes review. It helps us out so immensely.
Not on the experimental hip hop. You don't
I'm never
going
to call you your rap name.
Okay, don't call me my rap name.
I
maybe
respect
you can write
our-
it down every now and again. Maybe on the legal forms we can refer to me as that.
Please refer to me as my God-given name. I feel like it shows a baseline level of respect. You can follow me on Twitter at BestJakeYoung. And you can go onto the Giraffe channel on YouTube where me and some Illustrator buddies have some real goof-em-ups as we try and explain anime and television and just draw some neat things.
Yeah, thanks for everybody on the Twitch, by the way. We hit 1,000 followers. I really appreciate
that's amazing.
it. Yeah. I guess I should go ahead and drop that, I'm going to start Twitch streaming full-time in April, and I'm really excited about it. So if you haven't followed me already, follow me, Holdnator's Ho.
Drop some of those magic triangles on him.
Yeah, give me those weird bits. What is that? I don't even know what that. I should learn more about it.
I think you get a Starbucks gift card.
Something, right? It's like a way for people to not actually send me money to support the show, but send me weird tokens instead. It's like Chuck E. Cheese or some shit. Either way, have a great one, everybody. See you next week.
For more shows like the one you just listened to, go to cavecomedyradio.com.